how's it going, guys? Tyler here again, and today I thought I'd take you on a tour of my room, show you everything I've got going on in here, and I figured I'd start out by showing you my guitar collection. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, everyone, so first I'm going to go ahead and show you my guitar collection. So the first one I want to show you is this, my Fender. Well, it's actually a Squier made by Fender, Squier Strat. This is the first guitar I ever got. It's actually missing a string, if you can tell. And interesting story behind this guitar is one of my dad's friends had a son that was in a band back when I was maybe 15, maybe a little younger. And I went over to his house, and I was all ate up with his guitar and how he was playing and everything. And he just gave me this. Gave me the guitar, an amp, a cord, a strap, a stand, and everything, and said, you know, take it, it's yours, go ahead and learn how to play. So this is the first guitar I got, and I played it off and on for a couple years. Nothing too special about it. And then this guitar right here I just bought a couple months ago when I started playing again. It's a Schecter C6 Elite. I really like the green colors on it and the blue outline. It's definitely a lot better. Sounds way better than my other guitar. It's a lot newer and everything. And when I'm playing my guitar, I use this Fender amp. And this amp does a lot of neat things. It can change the tone of my guitar all the time. And I can switch from a clean sound to a distorted sound. And it's got all different kinds of settings that I can play with and get different kinds of cool sounds out of it. Okay, so that was my guitar collection. I'm going to go ahead and show you my Lego sets next, and then we'll move on to my Star Wars book collection. Alright, everybody, this is my Lego set that I've been collecting, or my Lego collection. I've been collecting these for, I'd say maybe 5-7 years total. So I'm going to go ahead and give you like a highlight of some of my favorite sets here. And to start off, I wanted to show you, this is a 20th anniversary of Lego Star Wars. It's the battle scene from Hoth in Star Wars Episode 5. And it's got the little generator and the AT-AT walker and a little snow speeder. I thought that was pretty cool. And then another 20th anniversary edition of Lego Star Wars. They re-released the original Lego Star Wars minifigures that they came out with back in 1999. And as you can see, they still have their original yellow coloring instead of the normal skin coloring like most Lego figures do have nowadays. And now getting into more of my favorite ones. This is what's called an Ultimate Collector Series Lego Star Wars set. You can tell because it has the little blue plaque. And this is Dio from Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And he's pretty cool. He can turn his head and everything. And keeping with the theme of droids, this is BB-8 from the sequel trilogy. And one cool thing about him is you can move his head around. And you can also make him pop out his little thumbs up. And I thought that was pretty neat. Another one of mine, this is probably my favorite set I've gotten. That's not this giant Star Destroyer right here. I don't know if you can tell if it's there or not. But this is my Ultimate Collector Series Slave One, which is Boba Fett's ship from the Return of the Jedi, Episode 6, and I think it's also in Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5. And what's neat about this Slave One is its minifig scale, which means that the size of the minifigure, if you were to scale them up to a normal person and the ship up at the same time, they would be the same as if this ship was real life scale to you and me, which is pretty neat. So the minifigure, this is like an actual life-size ship to them. And just to show you probably one more This is another one of my favorite ones that I've put together. And this is my T-47 airspeeder from Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This is also an Ultimate Collector series. And this thing, you know, it's just got little movable flaps and everything. I don't remember how, you just twist that and it'll open the flap up, which is pretty neat. And it's got a little gun that rotates on it. And all of these sets up here on my top shelf, including that Death Star up on top. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll pan to it later. And our Ultimate Collector series sets. And they're pretty awesome sets. I like them a lot. And lastly is my Ultimate Collector Series TIE Fighter. And just like the Snowspeeder and the Slave One, this is minifig scale. So this little TIE Fighter pilot is in scale to the TIE Fighter itself. Lastly, I just wanted to show off this Star Destroyer. Alright everybody, this is I know I've said this is my favorite set a lot already, but this is definitely my favorite set. This is an Imperial Class 1 Star Destroyer. It's actually Vader's Star Destroyer in A New Hope. And this is the second ship you see in Star Wars. The very first movie to come out, A New Hope, in 1977. First you see, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little what's called a Tantive 4, which was Leia's ship. That's the very first ship you see in Star Wars. And then after that, the big Star Destroyer comes in on top of them. So this is that Star Destroyer. It's called the Devastator, I believe. And this thing is neat. I mean, obviously it's huge. And on top of that, the detail in it is awesome. You got like your little shield deflectors up here. And this is the whole command bridge. And the angles on it are all perfect. You know, it slopes down there and then it slopes back in underneath. And it's got all these little rotating guns on the side, which are pretty neat. And this thing probably took me, I'd say, it probably took me about 3 days to work on and finish. It wasn't too difficult, probably a little more difficult than other sets because it's mostly all gray colors instead of the more colorful ones like I showed you before. But it still wasn't too bad. And it was a lot of fun, and so I hope you like it. And next I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my Star Wars book collection. Alright everybody, I'm getting into my books now. So this is a custom bookshelf I actually built myself. I bought all the wood from Home Depot, made all the cuts myself, measured everything out. And then I bought all these books on Amazon over a course of, I'd say maybe 6-7 months. There's 99 books overall, and the interesting thing about these books is they take place, or they were actually all made before Disney bought the rights to Lucasfilm and Star Wars, so these books no longer count as part of the story. Like I said, there's 100 overall, and they take place from, this very first one is only about a week after Episode 6. It's called Star Wars, The Truce of Bakura, and like I said, this takes place about a week after Episode 6, and the Empire's still kind of in control, but the New Republic is starting to take over. And some notable books from this timeline, especially some of my favorites, are this Heir to the Empire. This takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. And this book is all about a new leader of the Empire called Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's an alien with blue skin and red eyes, which is not normal for the Empire. And the trilogy follows Luke and Leia and Han and you know, all your favorites. And it basically, this book, when it came back out in 1992, basically launched the Star Wars universe forward, and the books from then on out carried the storyline until Disney took over. And another good book from this series is Star Wars Jedi Search. It's part of the Jedi Academy trilogy, and this is when Luke finally starts his own Jedi Academy and starts training his own Jedi students. and it's pretty interesting. There's a new evil person in the form of an Imperial Admiral, and she's actually a kind of cool character too. And then jumping forward, an interesting part of this timeline was right here. This is actually from the same author that wrote the Heir to the Empire book. This is called Star Wars: Spectre of the Past, and it's the first in a duology of books about Grand Admiral Thrawn again from the Heir to the Empire trilogy. And the interesting thing about these two books, this one and its sequel, is the Empire and the New Republic finally come to a peace treaty together and settle their differences, which is an interesting story, and also sets up the events for this next book I'm going to point out to you. Now this is Star Wars: The New Jedi Order Vector Prime, and this is the start of a new series. Well, it was new back then, called the New Jedi Order, and it's all about a species of intergalactic aliens from outside the known galaxy in Star Wars invade, and it takes both the New Republic, the Empire, and a bunch of other factions joining together to stop these guys from totally wiping out everybody. And it's very neat. Like I said, it's a 19-book series, so it's kind of a haul. I would definitely recommend it, though, if you ever want to look into them. And then, after that, the events of the story continue. This is getting into about 30 years after Episode 6 in universe. And this is Star Wars: The Unseen Queen. It's the second book in a trilogy of books called the Killik Crisis. And it's a pretty interesting read. It definitely, took Star Wars in a new direction, introduced a new kind of enemy. Not the best read, but it's still pretty good. And it leads into my next series of books I want to talk about. This is a 9-book series that takes place exactly 30 years after Episode 6. And this new series, this is actually Star Wars: The Swarm War. And this starts off another series called the Legacy of the Force series. And in that series, Han and Leia's son, Jacen Solo, actually turns to the dark side and starts a new empire and tries to take over the galaxy again. So it's all about our heroes trying to stop him, and it's kind of a tragic story. It slowly progresses over the 9 books and comes to a really good climax at the end. And then finally, getting all the way down here to the end of the timeline, 4 years after Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, is the start of another 9-book series. This is Star Wars: The Fate of the Jedi, and this one's Outcast. It's the very first book in the series, and this series is the most recent one to be made before Disney took over. And this is actually one of my favorite ones. So many things happen in this book. They go to all different kinds of planets. A new enemy is introduced. The best way I can describe her, she's basically like a dark side force entity. She's not really a person. And also a new tribe of Sith come into play. And instead of there being just 2 like normal, this time there's thousands of them. And Luke and his Jedi Order have to deal with them. It's a very interesting story. And if I was going to recommend any of the books that I've talked about here, it'd be this book and its following 8 books that take place after it. Really good stories. And that's basically on my book collection. Like I said, there's 100 of them total, so there's definitely quite a bit I haven't covered. If anyone has any questions, I'd happily go over more of them. And just a little bit about my custom bookshelf for my books. I wanted to space all of them out to follow the timeline that they follow, which is why I made just one long shelf instead of a bookshelf where you can stack them. And I did that so I can actually display the timeline. And I believe you can read this. This is the New Republic era. So this lasted roughly 20 years after Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And then it went into a new, what we call the New Jedi Order era. And this is what I was telling you about earlier, the species from outside the galaxy that started attacking. And that lasted, I think, roughly 15 years or so. And then finally, I have on here the Legacy era, which is the remainder of the books. that take place over 5 years, and they are the ones that I was recommending earlier. But anyways, that's my book collection. I hope you like it. And next I'm going to move on to my puzzles that I have around. Okay guys, so for this corner of my room, where some of my puzzles are, I wanted to point out my two biggest puzzles. These are both 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzles. This one on the bottom, it's not taken from any specific movie or comic or anything like that. It's more of a combination. So it shows off almost all the characters or main characters from the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, which is episodes 1 through 3 and 4, 5, and 6, as well as showing off some of the vehicles from those eras. You have like the Death Star in the background, a large AT-AT, the Millennium Falcon, some X-Wings. Like I said, all the characters, including, prequel characters like Padme Amidala from episode 1, and then all the way to, Jabba the Hutt from episode 6. So this puzzle is one of my favorite ones because it kind of includes everything. It's got a really neat background, a lot of cool colors that pop. And the one above it, that's also 2,000 pieces. This is from Rogue One. It's not exactly taken from any scenes from the movies, but it does include real life or realistic images of all the characters. It's got Darth Vader as like the main set piece with the Death Star back behind him, and then on this side are the good characters, and on the other side are all the bad characters. And then over here, this is pulled from a comic book. This is a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's got the I don't know if you guys are familiar with comics at all, but the old school comics, the way they were made was more like dots, different colored dots instead of actually lines. And you can see those dots in this puzzle. I'm not sure if you can see it from there, but that's how it's made, and it looks really neat. And these two are my only two puzzles that don't match the rest of them. These are DC Comics puzzles. On top I have Batman and Robin with his Batmobile, and it's got a bunch of Batman characters, both good and bad. And then below it is more of a Justice League style puzzle. It's got Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and it's kind of like a 1950s style. So these are these puzzles on this side of the corner. I'm going to go ahead and move over here back to where my bookshelf is and explain those other puzzles. And then after that I'll move to the other last corner and explain the rest of my puzzles. Okay everybody, back on this side of the room. So these are all the bulk of my 1,000 piece puzzles. And the first three here are more of a cartoon style. They're not exactly, realistic. They're more, I wouldn't say cartoon. They're probably more of like a painted style, really. And they're based off of the 3 original movies. This one is based off of New Hope. It's got all the main characters from that movie. The second one is based off of Empire Strikes Back, episode 5, and it's got all the main characters from that movie. And then this one is based off of episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and it has all the main characters from that one. And then the rest of my puzzles have a more realistic look to them. They're more like directly pulled from scenes of the movies. So this one right here is a shot of Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO when they're going through the asteroid belt in episode 5. And it's looking right in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, it's pretty neat, honestly. It's one of my favorite puzzles I've got. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over a little bit and show you the rest of it. Alright everybody, now, like I said before, this is my more realistic puzzles on this end, and this is the Millennium Falcon one. This one right here is also from episode 5. This is Yoda on Dagobah, waiting for Luke to get there. This puzzle was really hard to put together. It's almost entirely green pieces, and they all blend together. And I think it took me at least 2 weeks to put together, whereas the rest of them, maybe a week total it took me to put together. Moving on is another puzzle. This is Boba Fett on Cloud City. This is also from episode 5. I just realized I got a lot of episode 5 puzzles. So what's neat about this puzzle is this isn't exactly taken from the movie, but it is a scene from the movie just from a different point of view. So originally in the movie, Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO get out of the Millennium Falcon on Cloud City and they meet Lando for the first time. And it's from their point of view. Well, this time you're seeing that same meeting of Han, Leia, C-3PO, and Chewbacca meeting Lando for the first time. from Boba Fett's point of view, and he's looking down on that meeting. And it's pretty neat, and it shows you the whole background of Cloud City, and it shows you, you can't really tell from where you're at, but there's actually 4 little people right here, and that's what I was talking about: Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO. And then my final one, this one's not realistic whatsoever. I know it's a little hard to see. Unfortunately, my Lego cabinet blocks most of it, but it's like another painting rendering of the Millennium Falcon. And it's actually based off of the original poster for New Hope back in 1977. And it's got a lot of cool colors to it. Lots of pinks and blues, which really makes it pop out and stand out, which is why I kind of like it. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over here to behind you guys and show off my last puzzles, and then we're going to move on to my lightsabers. Alright everybody, over here in this corner of the room, last corner where my puzzles are located. And right here on top are 3 300-piece puzzles. These are all based off of the actual movie posters from the original 3 episodes of Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6. And nothing too special about them, but I got them because I like them. And it reminds me of, how things used to look back then and compared to now, because Star Wars went through a lot of changes and they redesigned the posters, and it's a little bit harder to find these actual ones, which is why I got these sets. This one down below, this is another 1,000-piece puzzle. And the only reason it's not with my other 1,000-piece puzzles is because it's a landscape instead of a vertical version. So it wouldn't fit too well with my other ones. But what's neat about this puzzle is, it's got more of that painting style to it. And this is a close-up of Luke in his X-Wing going through the trench run on the Death Star in Episode 4, New Hope. If you look back here in the background, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is Darth Vader in his TIE Advance. And there's a couple more TIE fighters that are chasing him. And that one is really neat. And finally, right here is another 300-piece puzzle I have. The reason it's larger than these other 300-piece puzzles is because this is a 300 large-piece puzzle. The pieces are much bigger than they are up here. So it wasn't a very challenging puzzle. There wasn't a whole lot to it. It didn't take me long, maybe an hour to put it together. But I got it because I really like the picture. It's C-3PO, BB-8, and R2-D2, and you rarely ever get to see the 3 droids together. So I got this one to just kind of, commemorate that and help decorate my room. But anyways, that's my puzzles. I hope you guys like them. I think they really help, spruce up my room and make things look better, and just keeps me surrounded by Star Wars, things I love. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my lightsabers, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Alright everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get into my lightsaber collection. And the first one I want to show you, so this is a replica of Luke's lightsaber, his green one, from Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And I believe these are called Saber Forged lightsabers, and what's neat about them, they actually light up. They make sound effects. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Very interesting. This one's actually a little bit older than my other model I'm going to show you in a minute. But it's got a lot of neat detail. The ridges are actually there. There's a button that slides it on. That's how you turn it on and turn it off. And they're super bright at nighttime. And the only other lightsaber I have, so this is the lightsaber. This is Anakin's original lightsaber, and then it was Luke's lightsaber in Episodes 4 and Episodes 5, and then it became Rey's lightsaber in the sequel trilogy. So it's been all over the place. Very famous lightsaber. This is the one Luke threw over his shoulder in Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And this one's a little bit different. The switch to turn this one on, you just kind of push that up, and it turns blue. And like I said, this one's newer, so it sounds better. The light's a little bit brighter. And the finish on it's just a lot smoother. There's a lot of detail on it. It's got the clip and everything for your belt. It's got all these buttons on it, and very neat. And one thing I'd like to show you before I go ahead and put these away is these things can actually be used for dueling if you wanted to. They make the sound, see? But I thought that was pretty cool. And if anyone wants to have a lightsaber fight, I'm down. Anyways, that's my lightsabers. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap things up now. I hope you guys enjoyed everything in my room. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.